I'm gonna start this episode very slowly because there was a staggering amount of slow-mo footage earlier in the race. Kinda Twilight Zone-y almost. And there were time warp vibes to last year's event. Conditions were a little warmer, but the rain, dark jackets, and reappearance of Lotto Jumbo's Martin Cialinghi, Bora Argon 18's Jan Barta, and Lampre Merita's Matteo Bono in the breakaway were straight out of the 2014 race. Despite the flashback, there were things to look at in the early going other than the azure blue of the Mediterranean coast. Katusha and Etixx Quickstep expressing faith in their pre-race favorites by setting tempo, and Cialinghi making his way through a banana while continuing to take poles in the break. The complexion of the event started to change just ahead of the three short copy climbs at 54k to go. You can see the growing density at the front of the field as Giant Alpecin comes up en masse to make sprinter John Degenkolb's life a little easier. Tinkoff Saxo took over pacemaking, though as the gap fell inside of 2 minutes and the catch became inevitable, the front of the field spread from a pace line into clumps of teams battling to keep favorites up front. As MTN Quebec's Edvald Bosenhagen demonstrates, there just isn't a lot of space to ride on these climbs. With the gap shrinking at 40k to go, Bardiani CSF's Stefano Perazzi attacked the breakaway, trimming it to 4, while Trek Factory Racing's Julian Arredondo and Team Sky began setting pace in the field. Conditions were drying, which is almost worse since it makes traction variable. Wet patches took out a handful of riders back in the field, and Sky's Salvatore Puccio, riding 4th, slid out and unwittingly launched a 3-rider Sky team time trial. They elected to maintain the gap. It looked odd, but sprinter Ben Swift got a jostle-free ride, and it forced a little extra effort out of Orica Greenedge and Giant Alpecin. The Sky Trio caught the escape 30k out only to find that Bono had gone solo, but I made all the U2 jokes I'm going to make in last year's Liège video. Still, the gaps were small coming into the Cipressa a few k later, and an easy tempo prompted an attack from Sylvain Dellier of BMC. Sky Swift and Geraint Thomas joined on as he came by, and a flurry of counters added EQS's Zdenek Stybar and BMC's Greg Van Avermaet. The move caught Bono, the group caught the move, and Sky, BMC, and Arredondo continued to drive the pace as the fast men struggled behind. The descent was uneventful, followed immediately by an attack 17k out from BMC's Daniel Oss. Thomas joined him moments later, and as the chase reformed, there wasn't a lot of urgency since 2 major teams were now sitting on, and Katusha was holding back as Luca Paolini gave Christoph a little pep talk. The gap went as large as 30 seconds, but eventually Katusha and Trek rolled past BMC's false tempo, dropping it to 16 seconds by the start of the Poggio at 9.1k to go. These CCC Sprandi Polkowice riders in orange are a nice example of the position battles here. They start off pinned to Christoph's wheel, then Lotto's Tim Wellens and OGE's Michael Matthews sneak by, then they get pretty solidly swarmed on this hairpin by a variety of dive bombers including Degenkolb, and by the time the pack catches Oss, who'd been dropped by Thomas in the meantime, the orange kits are all but out of sight with 6.3k to go. Gilbert attacked almost immediately after the capture, Stybar and a host of others responded, but a Van Avermaet counter immediately got space. Van Avermaet closes the Thomas at the top, the field close on his heels, and please note these crash barriers, because as Tinkoff's Peter Sagan closes the gap, Gilbert is about to unwittingly use them to open one, taking down several other favorites in the process. A select group reached the bottom at 2k to go, and Sagan looked like he gave a solo attack some thought before reconsidering at the sight of Sky's Thomas and Swift. The former went immediately into lead-out mode, but Paolini took over with Christoph in tow under the red kite, and for the first time all day, Degenkolb seemed a little out of position. But 6 hours of not fighting for wheels makes 60 seconds of it easier. Degenkolb puts in a quick surge just outside of 300 meters to pass Trek's Fabian Cancellara and shoulder in around Lotto's Tony Galopin. Matthews attempts to battle for the wheel of Lampre's Nicolo Bonifacio, but as this bump shows, he's about 15 to 20 pounds too light. Christoph likes a long sprint. I'm pretty sure he went where he wanted to, but coming into the final 50 meters, you can see him start to bind up, just as Degenkolb comes by. Still, it's enough to hold off Matthews, who in turn beats out Sagan for 3rd with a bike throw. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how the race was won.
Moustache, 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 yeah, moustache. Non, c'était avant-hier, j'étais comme toi, un style qui fait tache, une dégaine un peu louche, j'étais mou sans moustache. J'ai fini par changer pour un style qui fait mouche, laisser pousser des ailes et des poils au-dessus de la bouche. Si tu veux rentrer dans ce club, c'est là, pas besoin de laisser passer, il faut se laisser pousser une moustache fournie.